James Rousseau. Many people call me Trig. Company is Holy Culture.
Hey, it's Kellen, and today on Diversified Game, you guys are in for a treat. This man has done something that many have tried. Many folks are still trying. I don't want to know if his uncle is the famous Jacques, but I got James Rousseau. My French is terrible, you guys know. But he's going to give us the game on how he has taken his media company that just happens to be in the Christian industry and how he's got it on satellite radio, serious things. And I thank you because he's in Hawaii right now. Yeah, he's fancy and he's doing big fancy things.
Come on, bro.
It's a beautiful thing. So James, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, let's jump right into it. As I had told you off air, the Christian industry, people who know my name know I've written the book on it to give the game. But how did it start? Just how did you start this? And then you can let us know how you got this serious deal. Because like I just mentioned to you, nobody gave this to you. They probably thought you were crazy when you went up to saying, I want this on satellite radio.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because we're talking millions of dollars being made, but give us the game how you started.
Well, we started Holy Culture Radio, man. The founder's name is Vic Padilla. He started back in 2003 out of the passion for Christian hip hop music and the feeling that it was something that could be relevant in the culture. I joined the company not too long thereafter with a radio show and then became a partner. And then probably in the late 2000s, Vic left and I became the CEO and continued to run the company and collapsed it underneath my nonprofit. And the rest is history, as they say, And so I had been involved in Christian hip hop for so long. And I don't know about you, Kellen, but a lot of times, as you're working your day job, you get this tugging to figure out how to get to this passion work. And my passion was, man, empowering people to reach their potential. That's what I'm all about. I keep it that simple. And how do you do that? And so I was doing it in the day job, helping people, but I had this tugging to get external, you know what I mean? So as I continued to climb in corporate roles, I said, man, I got to figure out a way to get outside. And the Lord just kept providing opportunities to, evolve in the company, get to the C-suite. And I finally got a chance in 2018 to roll out and run our company full time. And I think that's when I really was able to put some more energy behind it. Because in 2018, we released our Holy Culture Radio mobile app. That helped us, continue to extend the platform, get more listeners. And we had gone to Sirius XM, I want to say back in the late 2000s, maybe even early 2010, 2011. And like you said, it was a veto. It did not go through their process. But this time we went back and we were smarter, wiser. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even look at the plan I sent them some 10 years ago. I started from scratch in terms of writing a new plan and presented something to them that they wanted to talk about.
Well, no, that's beautiful. And you make it seem so, I know it wasn't easy, but just such a smooth thing. What did you have to prove to them or show them? Was it the numbers that you had or the money that you were making? Which one did they care more about?
I think it's all in between. So first, let me start here and say, when they merged with, when they had their merger back, I think it was 07 or whatever it was, right, with Sirius and XM, one of the things that Congress pointed out to them was they would obviously have a monopoly in the satellite space, right? Part one. Part two was, look, there's a lack of underrepresented groups on your airwaves. And so what Sirius XM said is, we realize that one of the things we'll do is try to carve out this space for underrepresented voices, right? And so one of the things we did was understand that was a part of the commitment that they made to Congress and the FCC of carving out that space of these channels. And let's just say it's 12 channels out of their hundreds of channels. So let's be clear, it's a small percentage. But what we said is, okay, how do we nudge ourselves into that small, if it's 12 or 18 channels, how do we nudge ourselves into there, right? And so that's part one. Part two was, what are the things they're going to be most interested in? And, spend some time just looking through their publicly available documents. and previous folks that have gone before us that made it. And there are a couple things that jumped out to me. One was they want to make sure that there is a true market for it. And there's a difference between the market of a neighborhood, a market of a MSA, if you will, right, or DMA, and a market of national scale of some sort, right? And we can all go back and forth on what numbers make sense. But what I put in front of them was the Gospel Music Association and other affiliates would say there's over 50 million people that listen to some form of Christian music every month, right? Not yearly, not biannually, but monthly, over 50 million people that listen to some form of Christian music. Part two was, if you overlay that with the fact that hip hop music that at one point was considered to be a fad that wouldn't sustain itself is now the culture. It's not a part of the culture, it defines culture, okay? Part three was, listen, when you talk to people and do surveys, and we do a lot of different surveys through different ways, you know, primary and secondary research, it's that people enjoy this intersection of faith, arts, vocation, and education, if you will, right? People enjoy understanding their faith, going deeper in their faith. People enjoy the arts, if you will, hip hop, dancing, whatever the case may be. People enjoy vocation to the extent that they understand that, listen, man don't work, man don't eat. So whether you think of it as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I just gotta work, right? Or they get into it and they have a career, they want to learn things to continue to be successful. And lastly, education fuels all of those things. There's a common thread through all of them. And so what I presented was, that's what our channel looks like. We have this diversity of programming that is Christian, hip hop, music, and talk. And the talk was really important, that we're not just spinning music all day. We're having powerful conversations to help people succeed in their lives. All of it from a Christian worldview.
And real conversation, because, you know, when people who aren't in the industry, or maybe not even believers, just assume that pastors, preachers, which all the artists, you know, typically claim to be, for the most part. I know 7. I know you don't claim that.
Yeah.
7. But you know, but 5 you do, and 5 out there in Texas, who's a former client and friend of mine. You know, he really preaches out there, and he would do it for free. They just think everything is honky-dory. There's no real life scenarios. It's just, you know, I'm going through something, I prayed, and then it magically went away. So tell the people you're having real conversations, maybe with former drug dealers, pimps, addicts, and letting people know we are real people dealing with real things. That sounds like a commercial for something.
Right. No, I think you're spot on, man. I mean, one of the things is, I think it's a terminology we use sometimes, and I think the Fix show in the morning is a good representation of this. You know, the Fix started with us in April when we launched on April 21st, and so far they interview someone every day and have a real talk topic every day, right? And so that's over 100 plus interviews already. And one of the things I always say to them is their show is a good illustration of imperfect people in pursuit of a perfect God, right? Because they're talking about topics such as, man, during Pride Month, how do we handle those topics? Even if our preacher won't handle them or the pastor won't handle them, right from the stage, they don't want to deal with the controversy. How must we handle them to represent Jesus in the culture, right? How must we handle gender roles? How must we handle, even now with marijuana being legalized, right? How do we do that? And recognizing all of us have a former, right, and have a now, and we're all still in pursuit of being Christ-like, right? And following the mandates and the things that he said that we must do. And I think that's such a critical part of all the conversations. They're not condemning conversations, they're enlightening conversations. And don't spend, you know, if you got 10 minutes to talk, don't spend 8 minutes talking about the problem and 2 minutes talking about the solution, right? Let's make sure we spend equal amounts of time unpacking what the problem may feel like, but spend a lot of time talking about the solution practically and biblically in terms of the application.
I love it. One thing I also love about your channel, because, you know, the industry, and I would always tell people, it's small. And, you know, you can go to the Dove Awards, or you can go to what used to be ICRS. And I've done, you know, many of shows, but you see the same people sometimes. And the reason why I wrote this book, Quick Tips and Guide to Christian Music, because I said, hold on, I don't know how long I'm going to last, because I'm going to start telling. this person was in the world and is still in the world. He's over
Yeah.
here to get some money. But then you find there's so many like that. But one thing, and I got to shout out DJ Severe because I know him as Mr. White. I won't say his.
Ah,
I remember wearing the Kingdom Wear bracelets and to see him because he was really in the groove. That man brought
yes.
me. I was in Vegas one time. We at the casino, not gambling,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he bought me dinner. Wouldn't even let breakfast. Wouldn't even let me spend my own money, and wanted to give me some money. I think he gave me some money too. Like, come on, man, you blessing me, but I'll take it. Thank you. But you have real people who have been hustling and grinding in this
Right.
thing, not for the show, not for the, look at me, look at me. And there's plenty of that, especially in Christian rap, because rap, boisterous, it's about
Right.
me. I just love to see that and that he was getting his flowers, so to speak, and that you guys are growing. How did you select your talent? Because the easy part, everybody calls
Mm.
Lecrae, everybody calls Andy, everybody calls people that they think, can get them some clout. How did you pick your talent in your shows?
Yeah, I used to have a mentor that always say, make sure you're working with people that like, and trust, right? Because that's a good combination, man. You know them and you're familiar with working with them. You like working with them and you trust their work, and you trust that they're going to do what they're going to do. I mean, the first person I called literally was DJ Wado. DJ Wado is, man, a just a foundational dude in this work, and we had an opportunity to work together. Holy Culture Radio way back in the day. I mean, 10 plus years ago. So it was like literally when I knew that we were going after this strong, he was the first person I called, and we just talked about, what it could be, so on and so forth. There were some DJs that were part of the existing online only platform. So Severe was one of those cats. Severe, man, he's one of the most consistent cats in the game. That brother, when he does what he does it well. You can expect him to show up. His word is his bond. Consistent as anyone you would ever want to work with. And then other people, man, are just people I've had the pleasure to work with, or pleasure to observe. Baradox, me and Baradox go back 20 years. He does the Christ Revolution show. Pastor Phil Jackson and Church on the Block Sunday mornings. When I was in Chicago for a couple of years, I was introduced to him, man, and spent time at his church and just have so much appreciation and respect for what he does in his ministry. So everyone on the channel, we have 4 daily shows: The Fix in the morning, Raina Day comes on at 10. Raina is an industry vet, just got that golden voice. We got King Size, who comes on What It Is, What It Be's Like at 2, and then Wado at 6 in the evening, right? So you got every day 4 fresh shows, okay? All those people I knew. I didn't know Raina as much, but I knew, who she was, had talked to her in the past, etc. And then on the weekend, we have 10 shows, right? Starting with probably Jay Williams on Saturday. Me and Jay worked together a little bit, and ending with Track Stars on Sunday night, and everything in between. Again, music and talk. So the selection was, I think, a couple things, right? Again, people know, like, and trust. Diversity of styles and information. Not all East Coast, not all West Coast, not all Dirty South. So knowing people are going to do different musical things. Also, topical differences. I have an understanding for where we all have a heart for Christ. We all have a heart for serving. We're all going to try to follow the Great Commission. But just like it says in Romans, right? We're all different parts of the body. And so I didn't want to have 5 arms, right? And 10 feet. How do I could put a team together that's going to complement each other while trying to all serve the same purpose?
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And once you get in the industry, that's where you find out, man, the real judgment. It's just like church, growing up, where everybody, pastor, and get to that parking lot, and you're like, hold on, it's gonna be a fight. I don't know. I'm from Oakland. We saw a little of everything, and you're
Right.
like, what happened to the grace, the mercy? And then you get caught up in it, and you find out, okay, we're just people who we're doing our best.
Yes.
What has been the most difficult part for you? Because, and I won't say any names, but when this thing started, people start seeing, millions. There were sites that, hey, well, if you pay us, you're on, and it does take money to get there. But the artists are like, I just drove, again, I'll say 5. I know he's driven hours, to go to churches and just
Right.
you're not tripping off the money. How have you, worked that out with the artist? Because not everyone's a businessman, not everyone's an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So this is probably a thing where I may get myself in trouble, man, because so we're nonprofit, part one, right? Part two, I think what God has always put on my heart is to try not to charge artists, right? To think of artists as urban missionaries who actually need to be supported more than take money from, right? So when I took over Holy Culture, one of the things was I've never charged artists for any placement, rarely for ads. Every now and then I will let someone purchase an e-blast, but I can't tell you, Kellen, how many times I get a call that says, hey, can I buy a banner on your site? Or can I do this? Or I can't believe it sometimes when people, whatever. The implication of purchasing spins, which is no, right? But the answer to all those questions are outright no. We'll support you. Send me the banner, right? Or we'll try to include you in the e-blast. Or we're going to put your information on the website anyway. And listen, we're going to play your music if we like the music. Our submission process is really simple. Go to holyculture.net/radio submissions. There's a form you complete. Tell us about the song, right? Help us understand where you're going. And if it's Christ-centered and it hits us, man, we're gonna play it. We're gonna try to give everyone some love. We don't try to play just quote unquote let's call them 8 artists, for lack of better terms, that everyone knows, no big deal, Lecrae, Bizzle, so on and so forth. We want to play a lot of, let's call it beat artists who aren't on a label, but they've been putting their work in, they've been consistent, putting stuff out. And we want to play a lot of emerging artists, a lot of independent artists, a lot of female artists, a lot of, let's call it boom bap in the street artists. We're trying to mix it up to give everyone a chance to be seen and heard, you know what I mean? And so that's what we've done. What it's also made us do is be deliberate about the business model, right? And so I come out of a B2B world, right? I grew up in Chase on the HR side first, and then credit cards. And my job in credit cards, man, was constructing affinity deals with organizations like a Notre Dame, like a University of Florida, et cetera, to co-brand products and take them out to consumers, right? So I kind of tend to think B2B first. And for me, a big part of getting the satellite channel was then to be able to sell advertising to other businesses, right? So I'd rather work top down that way and not, again, try to charge artists. I want to fuel artists, not charge them.
Okay. Now, can you talk about, that means your sales game is tight and heavy. And that's usually the hardest part for people, because they're like, well, how do I talk to these businesses? Do I have enough for them to be interested? And the answer is yes, but power respects power, and you have to be at the right meetings and talk that language. Did school do that for you, or did you learn that once you graduated and got into the real world?
A combination of both, man. I was late in school. So, I grew up, like I said, in Chase and then JP Morgan Chase subsequently. And man, I tried to go to college out of high school. That didn't work because all my financial aid fell through and all that. So I actually didn't finish my undergrad until I was about 34. But I had learned how to work with businesses, right, and other business leaders, and kind of learn the language and move around. I mean, when you're working inside a large corporation, if you pay attention, you start to learn the language. For example, what's your unique value proposition? What is it that you do that is unique, right? That's not easily duplicatable. That is the 1 or 2 sentences that when you say it is going to pique attention. So for example, if I'm selling to other businesses right now, we have 5 million plus subscribers that listen to our channel. 40% of them listen daily. And on average, they listen 35 to 40 minutes, which is a multiple of any AM or FM station, a 2x, 3x multiple, right? That speaks to them engagement, right? That speaks to them depth. That speaks to, and by the way, SiriusXM, because they're subscriber-based listening media, you're talking about people who tend to skew higher levels of income, right? So these are highly desirable consumers. And by the way, we over-index in C-suite listeners by 70% the national average, okay? So all collectively, when I'm talking about the businesses, right, I have probably 4 or 5 bullet points to make them go, okay, this is worth having a conversation. And then And sales, the next piece is, you know, you got to overcome objections. That's the next thing you have to do. Be ready that they're going to come off the ropes with, but this is probably going to be more costly than doing, you know, internet ads, right? In terms of my cost per acquisition. And you just got to continue having the conversation. What is your current cost of acquisition? I'd love you to challenge me on it. I believe I can beat it. And that's a part of that whole sales process. And to answer the other part of the question, after I did my undergrad, years later, I went back to get my MBA. And so I went back to Kellogg to do that.
I was gonna call you out on that. So y'all don't just listen to that, because that Kellogg Northwestern University, he might have took a minute, but when you do that, not everybody can do that. So that, you know, kudos for you to always keep learning, because somebody, hey, oh wait, he said he didn't finish his under, you know, they'll cut it right there.
Oh no.
Run off and tell the mother, I quit.
Can I add one more point to this too? The other thing I have to say is I think you have to have an insatiable appetite for learning. I mean, every day, whether it's reading Dan Runcie's column, he has a great column about the music business, right? Dan Runcie, whether you're reading MBW, Music Business Weekly, or on your All Access, or whatever the case may be, start to look at columns and whatnot to understand how things are shifting, because so much is shifting. Whether you believe that TikTok is creating the next music stars and challenging record labels or not, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. You just need to be understanding the trends, understanding what's happening in media, understanding influencers and all those things. So then when you're having a business conversation, you can probe more intelligently in terms of their understanding and where they may sit. And then the jousting can begin, right? Because it is a conversation. It is a discussion, right? It's not just you get to read off your sell sheet and make a sell. It's a conversation.
Definitely is. Now let's talk about, you know, the emergence of now YouTube shorts trying to compete with TikTok. They're putting a lot of money towards that, but it's not easy or cheap to, you know, be able to license other people's music and have a YouTube channel where you're trying to help the artist, but then YouTube is dinging you. You know, whether in everybody's deal, like how are you planning for the future with the YouTube, the TikToks, and everyone again is excited about the shorts? Are you gonna go into that realm and fight that fight and tell Google, hey, they gave us permission, here's our paperwork? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what? I think we're still figuring it out, right? I think I'll make a broad statement as opposed to just about YouTube and all those guys. I guess I think about it this way. All of those spaces to a certain degree are like leased land. You know what I mean? Like you don't own any of the things in those land. You have followers, you have people that check out your content and whatnot. And while you can monetize it, you don't own those followers and whatnot in those leased spaces. And so when I think about them, I always have it's like anything else. You're always trying to measure the return on investment, right? To create content in any space costs money. Even if you're creating a radio and making video, you can't just repurpose it. You have to repurpose it with intent to make sure it fits on that platform. All that, just what I just said, takes investment. And so you have to think about, okay, how much am I going to get back on this platform? That, you know, how much is monetizable? What does it look like? And by the way, when they change their algorithm again, what is that going to mean? Okay. And by the way, I don't get the customer and viewers list, so I can't directly contact them through email, send them SMS messages, whatever the case may be. So how do I think about what may become a terminal event at some time in my investment? And I think that's one of the things I think we all just have to think about, is that the folks who own these various platforms are, for lack of better terms, using us as content generators to fuel their revenue streams, right? There's no love relationship here. It's not, oh, I'm looking out for Kellen's best interest. I'm looking out for James and Holy Coach's best interest. No, I'm looking out for their best interest, right? And we're part of the game. And so what I think we all have to think about, at least what I think about, is, okay, that's leased land, and we have an amicable relationship for us to use that leased land, and they'll try to do the best things as long as it works for them. How do I make sure on the land I own and build, I have enough things that I can control, right, to propel us future forward? Like when I leave the CEO chair, am I leaving the CEO in a better position because we own enough on our land? And so that's how I think about it. So I haven't figured it out, but I'll tell you, I'm constantly thinking through how we get to the right equation and balance between leased land and our own land.
Yeah, I mean they're for marketing, and that they add, they'll give you a penny or two for 1,000 views or so, depending on where you live in the world. Because my
Right.
African clients, they'll tell you 1,000,000 views is not the same thing as the American client,
Mm,
and it's not fair if they have an American audience. But that's conversation
right.
for another day that I've been bothering Google about, and will continue, because like
Yes.
Trump, I have nothing to lose.
Right.
But but it's really, with all this Web3 and metaverse talk. I mean, you have your website, it's beautiful. That's your metaverse, that's your world. For people who are interested, you use them just for the bait to bring them
Right.
over here, because you can control that. And let me
Yep.
also shout out DJ iRock Jesus. That's also somebody who's always been
Yes.
doing nice. I could tell you a whole list of others who haven't been,
Yeah.
in the so-called Christian industry.
Another good brother. Absolutely.
Yeah. So where do you, not, I don't want to ask you where you see the future. You see the future of everybody, getting saved and coming over to Holy Culture. But what does your community give back, since you are a nonprofit, that you are doing, or that you would like to do in the future that you haven't listed already? Because you said you give the art, you haven't thanked the artist. That's one blessing right there of a give back.
Yeah. Well, the organizational name is the CoreLink Solution. Holy Culture falls underneath that, and of course, the CoreLink Solution, same mandate: empower people to reach their potential. We have a curriculum that's born out of my book. My book was called Success in Your Own Terms. The curriculum is called the same. And what we do is walk youth and young adults through 6 steps to how they get from identifying their passion and purpose to living it out. And then the last step is helping someone else understand the ability to do the same, right? And so we take that curriculum out. We take it to schools, churches, youth groups, etc. Teach them how to do it. We give them free workbook. We have a trainer program where we can leave a youth leader, facilitator, etc. with the packet and do it. And so a big part of what we want to do is continue to do that and do it in more abundantly, right? Give more out, give more things away. And ultimately, Kellen, one of the things I visualize, man, is turning what would be tours and events into weekends, right? Where instead of just a concert at a church on a Saturday night or somewhere else, we can afford to bring the artists in a day early, have the kids come in early, right? And that way there's this whole thing of, man, let's do a weekend wind down, get to spend time with the artists, understand how they got to where they got to. And Saturday is filled with workshops of helping them understand their faith, their arts, where they want to go in their career, how they think about education. We have Chase committed in one state to do the financial education piece and bring other partners in who will do that. And that way, then Saturday night is so much richer, because now when the artist takes stage, they have a different relationship with that artist. They've seen them as a person, right, who've come through their life. And then artist says, look, man, Sunday, we got to do community together. I want y'all to roll out. Let me show you what community looks like. And we have some worship together on Sunday. And we leave that church, and we think about churches as being a lighthouse of the community. We leave them with something special, which is the rest of that curriculum to take forward with those youth, right? And so that's what we're endeavoring to do as a nonprofit.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you guys can check out his book on Amazon, because when people write books, you can learn something, turn that TV off just for a second, and you can play the radio and read the book, especially if you like me and you need to do 2 things at once. So that's a beautiful thing. And we need more of that, because we're now seeing, everybody talking about finances online, but in the Christian world, the only person who really talks about finance that everyone knows is Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
That's it. And Dave Ramsey is why I'm debt free. Because when I was doing all my other jobs and things and listening to that, you don't need that. You don't need that. And so, but that's all that we have. But then when we go in outside to the secular, especially in the Black community, we have people doing conferences talking about, max out your credit card so you can put it on your debit card. And because they put a celebrity there, everyone's like, and these people, I know, I've been in the industry over 20 years. These people are broke,
right?
You working at Walmart right now might have more money because they might owe $1 million or 2 or 3. So you
Right.
have more than them, and everybody in the community just clapping like it's a Sunday at a Baptist church that I grew up in. I'm like, nah, stop that.
Yeah.
So we that's a need. It's necesito if you need it in Spanish. Yeah, you know, we need more. we
Love
need,
it.
yeah, we need more of that. Tell people again, you know, where they can find you. Any last words? Because I want them to tune this off and go just zone out, refresh, reset on that music that you have and all the shows that you're doing. And it's a blessing to talk to you.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. You can go to holyculture.net and everything is there. As soon as you get to the homepage, you're going to see something right at the top with the info about the SiriusXM channel, or you can listen right there to some of the music and replays of the shows and videos and artist profiles and whatnot. I really invite you to do that. If you go to the About page, you'll see more about the company and our overall nonprofit, as well as a link to my page and my info and my book. So if you go to holyculture.net, that's a one-stop shop to get anything you want to get about our company, myself, and our nonprofit.
You guys have been blessed by the game. Now it's your turn to share the game with somebody. It will change their life. Be blessed, y'all.
Hey family, on November 20th through December 1st, 2022, we will have the all-inclusive Kenya trip. Now, a lot of times people have said, hey, Phil, when's the next trip we'd like to go? I want to see Africa for myself, but this is the time to go. Everything will be taken care of. All excursions are paid. You can do monthly payments. You know, they'll have safari and the 6-city tour. You will see Charlie Island, which is something that we did not see last time on the tour. This tour will be 12 days instead of 7 days. So make sure to secure your place on the trip by going to www.wbsvs.com, make your deposit, and then you can start making your payments, and we'll see you in Kenya. Are you tired of the violence, tired of the injustice, police brutality, rampant discrimination, lack of gun control in this failed biased socioeconomic experiment called America? Or maybe you need a break from the relentless grind and want to regain control of your destiny, your wealth, your health, and your purpose. DiversifiedGame.com has the right course for you. Prepare for my first trip to Africa. Looking to reconnect with your roots, start a new business, or just a fresh start. Africa, aka the motherland, is waiting. Don't let the Chinese and the Mzungus have the fun and also take over the motherland. From Cairo to Mombasa, from Dakar to Cape Town, Africa has something for everyone, from business opportunities to the most amazing people, safety, leisure, and landscapes. So opportunities abound. It is time for the diaspora to reconnect with their roots. Time to reconnect with the birthplace of humanity. Africa is the last frontier. Get your head in the game and reclaim your legacy. The writing is on the wall. Babylon is falling. Give up the stress, grind, and violence inflicted on our people on this continent and prepare for a journey of restoration enjoyed by connecting with the land of your ancestors. Check out our new course and kick off your adventure at diversifiedgame.com.